From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the daily news for February 5th, 2026. These are the stories we are reporting at this hour. The New Orleans Police Department is denying wrongdoing after one of its recruits was detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which accused the city of violating federal immigration laws. Federal agents last month arrested New Orleans police recruit Larry Tama, a 46-year-old Cameroonian national who had received a final order of removal signed by an immigration judge in December, according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Tama remains in custody and awaits deportation. Tama was in the department's police academy when he was detained and was several months away from graduation. He had entered the United States in 2015 on a valid visitor visa and received conditional residency in 2016 after marrying a U.S. citizen. In 2022, his application for permanent residency was denied due to fraud, according to DHS. Criminal, illegal aliens have no place in our communities, especially on our police forces, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin stated Tuesday. But New Orleans Police Department spokesperson Reese Harper said Tuesday that DHS had made misleading statements about Tama's case. The department had confirmed Tama's employment eligibility through a DHS verification system and was never notified that ICE was seeking to detain Tama until the day of his arrest, he said. Turning to Oregon news, U.S. immigration agents in Oregon must stop arresting people without warrants unless there's a likelihood of escape, a federal judge ruled Wednesday. U.S. District Judge Mustafa Kasubai issued a preliminary injunction in a proposed class action lawsuit targeting the Department of Homeland Security practice of arresting immigrants they happen to come across while conducting ramped-up enforcement operations, which critics have described as arrest first, justify later. The department, which is named as a defendant in the suit, did not immediately comment in response to a request from the Associated Press. Similar actions, including immigration agents entering private property without a warrant issued by a court, have drawn concern from civil rights groups across the country amid President Donald Trump's mass deportation efforts. Courts in Colorado and Washington, D.C. have issued rulings like Kasubai's, and the government has appealed them. But the judge heard evidence that agents in Oregon have arrested people in immigration sweeps without such warrants or determining that escape was likely. Americans are exceptionally anxious about their political system, according to new international polling from Gallup, a situation that sets the country apart from other rich and powerful nations. About one-third of Americans rated politics and government as the top issue facing their nation, behind only Taiwan, which faces the prospect of an invasion from China, and on par with Slovenia, Spain, and South Korea. The United States also stands out for the anxiety its younger residents have over economic issues, with younger Americans more likely than young adults in many of the 107 surveyed countries to say affordability and other pocketbook issues are worrying them. Wealthier countries are more likely to list politics and government as a top issue, as are democracies. But the U.S. stands out as a country that's particularly concerned about the stability of its democratic system and whether it's still possible to get ahead economically, said Benedict Viers of Gallup. Turning to Pennsylvania news, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro delivered his fourth budget address at the state capitol in Harrisburg Tuesday, just 3 months after last year's budget was passed by state lawmakers. The $53.2 billion proposal, a $3 billion increase over the 25-26 budget deal, includes funding for initiatives like cannabis legalization and minimum wage increases, along with hundreds of millions for education. One of the key themes of Shapiro's address was affordability. The governor talked about the rise in utility costs and criticized utility companies for a lack of accountability and transparency. Shapiro said the state's 4 largest utility companies, PECO, Duquesne Light, First Energy, and PPL, have agreed to take steps to end certain fees and called on the legislature to create benchmarks for how much utility companies can profit. We grant these utilities a monopoly, and in exchange, they have a legal responsibility to keep their costs just and reasonable, Shapiro said. They shouldn't get $1 more than what they need to meet their customers' needs. The governor also talked about rising housing costs and said he wants to reform zoning laws to cut through red tape. But his biggest push is $1 billion for critical infrastructure funding that would help build thousands of new homes in the state. And that's the news for this hour. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Pennsylvania Equality Project is conducting its housing survey for 2026. Details are available on their website at paequality.com. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.